Kia ora. Welcome to this presentation about stress. My name is Dr. Matire Harwood and I'm a GP academic from the Department of General Practice and Primary Care at the University of Auckland and a GP at Papakura Marae in South Auckland. And I'd like to acknowledge the support from Te Herenga Hauora, the health promotion agency, who helped with the content for this presentation. Stress means lots of different things to different people. One way to think about stress is to consider it as something that affects what we value most in our lives. So for me, I value my family and their well-being, and so I become stressed or worry if anything were to happen to them. So that's how I think about stress. Another way to think about stress is to consider it as a warning light on our dashboard of life. Like the petrol gauge in your car, it starts to light up when it becomes empty or gets close to being empty. And it means that we need to take action immediately. In the car situation, it means getting petrol to support you moving forward. It's the same for stress. When it starts to light up on your dashboard of life, think about addressing it immediately so that you can continue on your journey and keep moving forward. We suggest that you talk to people about 3 steps in managing their stress, and we call it NRT. The N stands for noticing. So notice your life's dashboard warning light. That's the first step. R stands for recognizing that there's something important to you or that your values are potentially at risk, and that's why the warning light's gone off. And T stands for taking action now. So the abbreviation NRT is a really useful one. Let's start with the N, noticing. If you notice these things, these would suggest that you perhaps have stress in your life. Firstly, you might develop some symptoms in your body. 2, you might start avoiding or escaping those things that you enjoy, whether that be people, places, or activities. And 3, you spend too much time worrying about things or overthinking things. So let's talk first about those symptoms in our body. They could be things like a racing heart, pain in the chest, pain in the neck, back or stomach, breathing very quickly or shallowly. And so it's really important to recognise and know your own symptoms so that you can think about them and know that perhaps this is, I'm experiencing these as a result of stress. I need to do something about it. In terms of noticing when you're avoiding or escaping things, we tend to do this because we're designed to avoid physical pain in order to keep us alive. It's that whole flight and fight response. So it's a natural instinct for us to avoid things. But with stress, we're trying to do the same sort of thing, but avoiding emotional or personal pain. It's not the same as the physical threat that might have been around in people's lives previously. So for me, I notice I'm stressed when I'm not getting out onto the water. I really enjoy doing wakaama, getting onto the ocean with my friends and whānau, and I notice if I'm not getting out onto the water, this would suggest to me that I'm probably more stressed than usual, and I'm avoiding that normally enjoyable activity and not wanting to put myself out there and not wanting to be around people who might know me better than I know myself and recognise that I might be stressed and having to confront that honesty with them. So for different people, it will be different things. They might avoid people they love. They might avoid places that might actually help them get back on track. They tend to cut down on those activities that give them pleasure. It might be reducing exercise. It might be avoiding good, healthy kai and eating unhealthy foods. Or for some people, it might be increasing alcohol or drugs to reduce the pain that they might be experiencing in their lives. The third thing that we ask people to notice is when they're spending too much of their time becoming on worried thinking. And with that, people feel panicky. They feel like they are having to be hypervigilant and feeling overwhelmed by things that would not normally bother them so much. The R of the NRT is to recognise these things. So stress happens when something important to us is at risk or at stake. We only worry about things that we care about. So stress is actually telling us what's right in our lives, not so much what is wrong. So worrying about the health and well-being of our family member is actually a good thing to be worried about. And so we ask people to flip what is wrong to also make it what is right. Recognise that it is linked to your values. So instead of thinking I'm frustrated, flip it to I haven't given up. I care about things. The T of NRT is to take action. So use the energy from that stress to actually take action and not let it overwhelm you. Approach things. Don't avoid them, but don't be an angry boss, for example. Approach them in manner-enhancing ways. Do the tasks like cleaning the house, weeding the garden, and holding that feeling lightly, holding that stress in your hands to know that it's something that's manageable and can be dealt with. We need to experience the feelings, not try and solve them. Remember, our mind doesn't have a delete button. Our mind is keeping us safe so it doesn't let us forget what's important to us and what we value. The first person who spoke of this idea of the mind not having a delete button was Professor Steve Hayes Reno from the US. He visited New Zealand and spoke about the fact that we need to hold things lightly and that our brains and our cognitions carry things negatively, but that they can be managed and they're not to be too overwhelming to a person, and allow them, by holding it lightly, move on with their lives. If we don't take action, the solution then can become the problem. So, for example, you might think you've made a mistake at work and you're still awake at 3 a.m. worrying about it. Now you've got two problems. You're worried about your mistake and stressed with that, and you don't have enough sleep. So that just compounds the issue. Instead, we encourage you to talk with people about living with ease. As humans, it's just simply not possible to live completely without some form of stress or suffering. And some say that pain, whether that's emotional or physical, can be expected in life. So learning to deal with that is really important, and giving people the tools and resources to manage that is a critical part of our role. We can learn ways of dealing with the suffering by reframing it, that it's okay, and it's important to teach people how to live with ease. We encourage people to trust their own experience, not what the mind might be telling you. For example, if you're at home and a bit bored, your mind might say, sit down, have a snack, watch a little bit of TV, but instead your experience is more important. And we would encourage people to say, actually, last time I had a bit of time on my hands, I actually went outside, did a little bit of exercise, had a walk, spent time with friends, and I really enjoyed that and felt so much better for doing that. And so we encourage you to think about those really good experiences and use them to guide what you're going to do with your life, not so much the mind and its worrying thoughts. Be kind to yourself, and we're hearing that a lot over the last 12 months, but we really encourage you to talk about this with your clients. Ask yourself, what is the emotional tone that's going on in my mind? Is it critical or is it kind? Are you willing to have a kind voice in your mind and have a supportive coach who's going to help you to continue to move forward and be a better person, rather than someone who's a little bit critical and might actually hold you back? We can think of our minds as a tiger alarm which keeps us alive. It's like a smoke detector, this tiger alarm. It knows something's wrong, but it can't tell exactly what that thing might be, such as a smoke alarm lets us know that there is smoke in the house, but we don't know whether that's coming from burning toast or if in fact the house is on fire. So we need to learn to turn off that tiger alarm or to turn it down. Some of the ways that we encourage people to do this can be non-medical. The first step might be just to learn to breathe slowly. So box breathing is a fantastic concept that allows people to count the breaths in and out again, and with time they can slowly relax. Another form is the hold breath technique, where we breathe this for 4 seconds, holding it for 2 at the end of the breath and holding it for 2 at the end of the exhalation. We call this the 4-2-4 method, and it immediately slows the heart rate down, which is really good for you. Another way is obviously to keep fit and active. This can also slow the heart eventually with time as we become more physically fit. And finally, we ask people to think about the NRT approach. So to notice when things are feeling stressful for them, recognise that this is the dashboard gauge telling us that there is stress in our lives, but finally we need to take action to manage it. So in summary, we've just explained 3 steps for stress. Notice your life's dashboard warning light. Recognise that something important is at stake for you, and this is just highlighting your values or what's important in your life. But take action and hold that stress lightly so that it's not overwhelming you or your life. Turn off your tiger alarm. Think about practicing the 4-2-4 breathing method. Learn to trust your experiences and what you've enjoyed in life rather than thinking that your mind and its worries are the best way to go forward. Practice being kind to yourself on a daily basis and have that internal supportive coach encouraging you rather than letting a critical coach inside you try and take over and bring you down. Regular exercise, keeping fit and active to slow your heart is also beneficial, but practice living with ease. I hope you found this helpful. Ka kite.